Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of
Mom and Son Podcast. This is Rose Fres Pauso, the mom, also known as FQ Mom.
And Anton Falso the son. Our next episode is actually something that's very relevant nowadays. So it's actually just finished the FIBA World Cup where Gilas Pilipinas competed and fought hard, and our guest today, our special guest today, is none other than the former Philippine national team coach CHOT Reyes.
Oh, by the way, do you know that Chot was my batchmate in college?
Oh.
Back in the 19 kopong days.
Hindi pa masyadong sikat yung UAAP basketball noon.
Well, we had, but it wasn't televised, and I think he was part of that.
Yeah.
Together with Georgia Lastimosa, who only stayed for a year in Ateneo.
Yeah. And the wife's the one who cuts your hair.
Oh yeah, the wife. Hi, Cherry.
Yeah, all right. So we talk about national basketball in the country, and I think we should just get straight to it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Here's the interview with Tito Chot. Okay, so joining me today we have the one and only Coach Chot Reyes. Tito, thank you very much for taking the time and welcoming me to your home, and also for the beautiful dinner.
Thank you for inviting me, Anton. Pleasure to be here.
Sige, so before we talk about the FIBA World Cup, which just happened, can we have like a brief background on how did your love for basketball start?
I don't know how brief that can be. Very early age. My earliest memory was basically holding a basketball, really, because our family, my father's family, even on my mother's side, was a family of sportsmen. They love basketball. They love all sports in general. So I remember one of the earliest birthday gifts I received was an actual basketball rim, hoop, board, and the ball. Obviously, it was still a small ball. I must have been 6 or 7 years old that time. And then on the television, it was always Mika at that time. Yeah, there's always basketball. And then even on live, I was prep, not even grade 1. I was prep. My parents already took me to the NCAA games. Ateneo was in the NCAA.
Yeah.
So it was really an introduction, an awakening into basketball at a very age. So I naturally gravitated towards it. And then
did you compete? What did you
join
varsities and
during my time in the Ateneo, you couldn't play basketball. There was no such thing as basketball varsity until grade 6 because you had no choice. You had to go football. Everything was football.
Oh, okay.
We were run by the Spanish Jesuits, Brother Oscaris, Chichi Sanchez, and all that. So if you wanted to be a varsity player, the
football
only one was football. So all of the Reyes brothers, we all went through varsity football, and I think it was a blessing because it improved our footwork, our endurance. It helped a lot in our basketball.
I read somewhere that it's good yung mga athletes na have more than one sport. It makes you actually better.
Always.
Yung discipline and
Correct.
also better in the sport. Did you get to play professionally ever?
No. My first year playing high school, I think was the first or second year that Ateneo had moved over to the UAP. And then when I graduated from college, I had offers to go and play commercial ball. It was still the PABL then, the Philippine Amateur Basketball League. But the starting salary, the offer, was the same as the starting salary offer that I got from an actual, because I was a working student as early as second year college, one of the senior staff for plans and programs in the called a different name then, but it is what today is the Department of Interior, the DILG, almost at that time. Transportation
so
and local government.
Very
different. Under then Secretary Ronnie Puno hired me not as a government employee but as his private staff for plans and programs. So I was the company that had hired me part-time while I was a working student made me a full-time offer after college, and it was the same. So I said, I was thinking long-term, so I said, I'll take the corporate job.
How did you then transition from a very government job to coaching? Kasi you were talking about how you played for basketball. How did you make the transition to coaching?
Well, even when we were in that job, one of the projects of Ronnie Puno, we were working with the governor then of Leyte. And one of the projects we did as the governor of Leyte, the Romualdeses, they had as guests the Chinese national team, basketball team. So they came over, and so we put a selection together to play them in Leyte. And because I put the selection together, I was part of the team. But we had Ato Agustin then, and some other guys that you wouldn't know already by now at this point. But I remember then. Even when I was in that job, there was always an element of basketball involved. And then when the EDSA revolution came about, because that was in government, obviously.
You're still working in government.
There was an upheaval. The athletic director in Ateneo, Father Holscher at that time, recommended me to Pure Foods Corporation. They were looking for a regular employee, but one of the things that they were looking for that employee was how to get them into basketball, because they were thinking of going into the PABL. My first project really was put the team together, do the feasibility study on the value of entering the Philippine amateur basketball.
Okay, to see kung ano ba yung parang profit, or
was it
if
worth
it's gonna help the
it?
company.
Yes.
So you already understand before you even coach yung parang business side of it. Kasi there's two, when people look at the PBA, there's always two sides with this, yung basketball playing it, and of course yung why are certain companies joining it for yung marketing nila, yung profitability.
Not only that, after just maximum 2 years in the PABL, an opportunity opened up. A team was for sale, was disbanding in the PBA, and they approached us. That was Tanduay. For the PBA, they approached Pure Foods. So I did the whole study, the whole feasibility study and all that. I wasn't really thinking of coaching at that time. Because I was consumed by the fact that I was in management. I was management in the corporate side, but I was also managing the team, kind of. And I can still distinctly remember signing Alvin Patrimonio to his first contract, Jericho Denera, Jojo Lastimosa, and you will be surprised at the amounts of the contracts that they have compared to what it is today.
So what was the turning point when you decided na I'm really gonna pursue coaching full time?
The turning point was when a certain coach by the name of Tim Cone came and called me to interview me for the assistant coaching job in Alaska. I knew Tim Cone from our days in the intercolor tournaments in Las Marinas Village, because we were bitter rivals. I mean, the Reyes brothers versus Tim Cone and his gang. We were there. Those were some real good games. Yeah, and according to Tim, he remembers me because he was so amazed at how we played. We were 5 guards, and they had all the big guys, but we couldn't get beat because we'd press them the whole game, and we'd just run and shoot and all that. Yeah. So out of the blue, he calls me and he interviews me, and he hired me for the job. But of course, I had to leave Pure Foods.
You had to leave the whole management side of it.
And
this is a new career.
The problem was I was being groomed for a scholarship for my master's at AIM, and I'd already actually passed the exam, and it was all set for me to take my master's. However, you know how this in corporations, when you do take those extra studies, you have to sign a contract that says you're going to, after you take your master's, you have to
You're
stay,
gonna work for them for a while,
like 3 or 4 years. And when I was thinking about it, parang I don't want to be seated behind the desk. I was taking all of the other executives, and I felt this was not what I wanted to do at that point. So I talked to the president and I asked him, and he very generously said, "Yeah, go and file." So people were saying, I mean, Pure Foods then was an Ayala company, and they were saying, "Wow, you're already with an Ayala company. Why are you leaving a very stable job?
It's supposed to be the dream
with the MBA already there. You know, your career is well set out for you." But I followed my passion, and my passion really was basketball. And so I went over to Tim Cone. Under his watch, we won our first championship for Alaska. At that time, because I was an assistant coach at Alaska, the Ateneo seniors, the UAP team also needed a coach. So they got me to be the head coach for Ateneo seniors team.
What year was this?
90 to 92, 90, 91, 92. Those were the down years of Ateneo basketball. But we had some pretty good players. Richie Tixon, Eric Reyes, Gabby Cui, who's now the team manager of Tokentex. But we were nowhere near the powerhouse of today. And we played a LaSalle team. I remember almost 6 or 7 players of that LaSalle team all played in the PBA. I mean, Jun Limpot, Jana Del Cardel, Noli Locsin, all of those super players. We had that misfortune of having the team, of playing them.
Having to face them.
So
they were the stronger.
They were much stronger. I mean, it was not like today where we have all that support. Before we couldn't even find people to our alumni or we had to raise the funds to even buy jackets for the team.
Wow.
Yeah, we had no sneakers, we had nothing. So it was very different from what it is today. But that's really where I cut my coaching teeth, because I was the assistant coach of Alaska, head coach of Ateneo, and I was a head coach of Burger Machine also in the PABL.
Oh, wow.
So I was holding 3 coaching jobs. So I'd go to the Loyola gym, the Blue Eagle gym, 5 in the morning for the Ateneo practice. Then I had to move to the Reyes gym for the Alaska practice at 10 o'clock. And then I had to, after lunch, take a quick lunch. And then in the afternoon, Burger Machine practice.
Do you think that juggling those three coaching jobs at the same time was instrumental to molding you into the coach who you are today?
Oh yeah, definitely. It taught me so many lessons, how to work with different types of people, how to adjust and prepare for different opponents. It was like a master's degree in basketball coaching.
Yun na parang yung equivalent.
Yeah,
okay, sige. Dito, fast forward naman tayo. Before we talk about how the Gilas Pilipinas team did sa recent FIBA World Cup, could you explain po, what is the FIBA World Cup? Kasi there are many different international competitions. But then, when people look at this one, the way I understood it before would be, dito yung may NBA players. This would probably be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, international basketball competition.
Yeah, the FIBA World Cup is positioned to be the biggest competition in basketball in the world. It's supposed to be like the FIFA, the Football World Cup. That's why it's held only every 4 years. Now it is held on every 2 years away from the Olympics. The Olympics obviously is different because
sports.
That's all sports. Obviously, it's also very prestigious. But for basketball and basketball alone, FIBA World Cup is the most prestigious, supposed to be basketball competition. And unfortunately, the last time we qualified was 1974. We hosted it. We played in 1978 because we were the hosts. But we actually only really qualified the last time was in 1974.
Wow, tagal na yun.
Yeah.
45.
40 years before. That's why when they hired me to be the Gilas national team coach in 2013, that was the objective, to get us back to the World Cup, to the World Championships for the first time in 40 years.
Alam naman natin yung how it turned out na the Gilas team was winless. Ano po yung opinion nyo on how they did yung performance nila? Kasi there are lots of accounts, lots of reports saying that we should take this as a win. It's a learning process, but then there's the other side naman that's talking about how, although it's supposed to be a learning process, it wasn't supposed to be this bad.
Yeah. Well, I think, first of all, I really don't cast any kind of aspersion or blame on the current coaching staff and the players. They really put in a very difficult position. And it's a reality that we just have to face if you're going to coach and be part of the national team. It's the fact that we have a professional league and we have different basketball interests, and they have their calendars, they have their schedules that is very, very difficult to displace,
to put it together and
the 2014 team played very well.
Yeah.
Because you remember we took Croatia, which was number 8 or 9 in the world at the time, to overtime. We took Argentina, number 3 team in the world, to the last possession before losing Puerto Rico.
And these teams had big names and big basketball.
Greece, number 5 in the world. So of the 5 teams we played in the elimination round, 3 of them were in the top 10. So they're very, very strong. Just like this year, Italy.
Yeah, Serbia
but the
also.
only one in the top 10 here was Serbia, because Italy is not in the top 10, neither is Angola. But I think in 2014, the other teams didn't take us seriously. Because, I mean, Philippines,
Sino ba yung
sino ba yan and all that. Until they almost paid the price. So I think this year's team, they were not gonna creep up on anyone.
Okay.
But the problem is, you couldn't help but be compared this year's performance
with the last
compared to the 2014, because we fought everyone. I mean, we lost the 4 games that we lost then in 2014 was a total of 23 points. And then we beat Senegal. So, every game was close. That's why kind of the expectations for this team were really raised.
We're higher. Oh, if the last one, people weren't expecting anything, and then since it beat expectations.
Yes.
This year, the eyes were on the Philippines.
Tumaas masyado yung expectation naman. I mean, that's unfair to this year's team. And the problem in 2014, we were allowed to get only 1 team per player. One player per team.
Per PBA team.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Except for several teams that allowed more than 1. But generally, the rule was only 1 player per team. And except if the team itself allows. But the rule was only 1 player per team. This year, it was carte blanche. I mean, the coach
100%
could choose anyone that they wanted from any team.
So,
any
mas lalo pang mataas.
So masyadong tumaas yung expectation. And again, Coach Yengia was really put in a very difficult position. Very difficult position. And so were the players. And I really don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. It's not their fault. They were just really thrust into a very, very difficult
and
situation. Yeah.
As syempre, when you watch, I can imagine if you watch games, being a coach for many years now, could you think of around 1 or 2 mga things that the team could have done to have a better fighting shot?
Well, it's very hard because, as a former coach myself, I never like to second guess the existing coach, because in the end you have to coach according to
what's happening,
the way you see the game. You have to coach according to your personality. And again, I will repeat, I thought Yang Giao did the best job he could given the circumstances. But I think one of the problems that he had was 3 members of that team couldn't practice with the team because they were in the PBA finals.
Yes.
So maybe, and again, hindsight is always 2020. But if I were in that position, I might have gone and just not put them on the team. I would have just gotten other players instead. Maybe not as good, maybe less talented players. But if you're going to tell me that I'm going to play against the best teams in the world, and I'm going to only have 1 week or 10 days to practice,
Not the team's complete.
It's the same thing. So they waited for those 3 players, Pogoy, Rosario, and Junmar Fajardo, and they all deserve to be in the team. Make no mistake about it, except their teams were playing in the finals
So wala ka rin,
up to 1 week before the tournament. So that was very difficult for not only Coach Yeng, but for the other players.
Yeah, syempre kasi yung chemistry, iba yun
Because the rest of the team, they went to Spain for tune-up games, and those 3 didn't go with them. So, so if there is something that maybe could have been done differently, maybe that's, for me, the most important thing. Maybe they would just have considered, Pogoy, Rosario, Junmar, we need you very much in this team, but the fact that you cannot come and train with us, sorry, we'll just get somebody else.
Yeah,
maybe they're not as good. The chances are we might still get blown out, but it's the same thing. If you wait for them, even if you get very good players but no practice, it's the same thing. So I'd much rather get lesser quality players but have a lot of good practice.
Yeah, but syempre at the same time, if those 3 were performed, if those 3 performed really, really well, edi the narrative would be different. It would be
like I say, it's hindsight is 2020.
You only understand
never,
something.
Yeah, you can never tell talaga, and that's why what people don't realize, that's the life of a coach. It's you make one move, you make one decision. If it turns out, you're like a genius.
Yeah.
If it doesn't turn out
It's
well,
your fault.
it's your fault.
Yeah.
Especially here in the Philippines, right? When the team wins, magaling yung players. When the team loses, banu yung coach, diba? It always falls on the coach's lap. And if you notice, all throughout the tournament, I've been very encouraging.
Kita nga po sa
I
post.
kept posting and kept telling people to stop hating. That's not gonna. We just keep supporting and supporting and supporting, no matter what. Because I've been there. There. I mean, in 2014, when we lost by 3 points to Croatia in overtime, and then we lost by 4 points to Argentina. We had the ball in our hands with the chance to win the game, last possession with Jason, and we lost. And people were calling me CHOT REYES because we lost by 4 points to the number 3 team in the world. My point lang is it's very difficult if you allow yourself. So if you were asking me what we could have done differently, well, that's a rule in all my teams. When tournament starts, we're all offline.
Yeah.
Including the players.
Yeah, I heard that then with Anoy. I think back then when Coach Norman Black was the coach of Ateneo, may rules sila na no phones. I think until now, no phones. And I think that's very important kasi, syempre, no matter naman how well you do or how bad you do, there will always be supporters and haters. And if you get those negative, I think this goes even outside of basketball, but if you get those negative parang comments and sort of get in your head,
exactly,
ma-affecton pa rin yung performance.
No matter how much you say that you're not gonna mind it and all that still takes energy. So, you know, if I were in Coach Yeng's position, midnight of the day before our first game, everyone is off. At the end of the tournament, then you can all go back online. So that's what we did in 2013. That's what we did in 2014. So when I was there, we were all insulated. We didn't care what people were saying because we didn't know. Obviously, our families, they were the ones getting the brunt of it because they were reading all of those things. But you know, it doesn't help.
If the result of the game was good, like back then when we had that historic game against South Korea, you're gonna be a legend na forever. This is something that's still very very winnable, very yung mababawi pa naman.
Imagine the 2013 game against South Korea. Remember, in the second quarter, we lost Doughty to an injury. And we basically played the second half with a very small team. We had 2 point guards, then 2 undersized big guys, Pingris and Ranidel De Ocampo, against the 6'9.5" and 6'10" of Korea frontline. Then we had Gabe, and then we had 2 guards, Jimmy and Jason. Essentially, that was our lineup. And you can imagine if we had lost, how much people will say, "You're stupid. Why did you play a small lineup? Why did you have Japet and Junmar and whoever tall guys there? Why did you have those?"
Junmar was also...
He was there, but that was Junmar's rookie year. But the problem with a team like Korea, they can put 5 guys on the floor. They're 6'9", 6'10" guys. They still are very quick and they can shoot the 3. Very hard for Junmar to go out and guard those guys.
So again, if we didn't win, then for sure.
So if we lost that Korea game, people will say, tanga kasi ng coach eh. Ang lit-lit ng team sa loob. Yan, tuloy natalo. What's Fajardo and Aguilar doing on the bench, and so on and so forth. But you know, at that point, those were the players who were playing well, and those were the players who I thought was going to get the job done. But again, if we had lost, can you imagine? I don't think you would be interviewing me now today. Because then, if we had lost, probably we wouldn't have gotten to the 2014 World Championships.
And I think that was the game. If there would be one game that would really solidify and a concrete game, and when the battle cry na PUSO.
PUSO kasi because nobody gave us a chance anymore when Marcus Doughty went out. I mean, we were the shortest team already in Asia. We lost our one, you know, kaisa-isa nating big man. But the players kept on fighting, and even Mark Pingris, who played very well, was playing the entire second half already with an injury. So that's basically what typified that PUSO. So that's really what built that battle cry until it has become basically the national battle cry, right? So
talking about Philippine basketball in general, I'm not sure if you got to see may statement was si Coach Tab of the Ateneo Blue Eagles about the Philippine basketball. He was talking about the lack of evolution. Kasi sabi niya, there's a blinder. I'm reading this, the quote. There's a blinder on Philippine basketball landscape because the country has been so good in basketball for so long that it's become insular. It doesn't look outside enough, and when it does go outside, it only looks at the US, and that's a big mistake because we can't be the US. Ano ba yung opinion nyo about that? Kasi that's that's already a comment, a look on how basketball, the culture is.
That's why when we were preparing for the World Cup in 2014, all our preparations were in Europe. We went to Lithuania to practice, and then we went to New Zealand. We went to the US only to have 2 weeks workout with Andre Blatch because he was still in the US. And then we already went to Spain in Europe. And we played Ukraine, we played France, we played
all European.
Those,
okay, all European.
And then we played
teams.
the Dominican Republic, we played Venezuela. We got our butts kicked, really. Plus, we hired a European coach. We hired a Spanish coach. His name is Nacho Lescano. Because he's very familiar with the European style of play, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, he coached the Cote d'Ivoire, the Cote d'Ivoire national team. So he gave us a lot of insight about playing against African teams. And then we hired Tab. Tab was my personal selection. In response to what Tab said, I think that's correct. I think we should really continue looking towards Europe, not only Europe, but the entire basketball landscape.
Yeah.
Basically, what happened to Gilas now in their first game against Italy happened to us before in 2014 in the tune-up phase. So when it came to official game time, we were ready.
This shows the importance again of how you have to be. The team has to be complete.
I went to Argentina in 2002. The year they won their Olympic gold medal. I was seeing that there was something going on in Argentina. So I wanted to find out what was going on. I went to Argentina and I spent 2 weeks there, and nothing special. Nothing special was going on. The secret of Argentina, that's why they're so good, they keep their teams together. The golden generation, Ginobili, Scola, Herman, and all of those guys, they were together since they were 16 years old. So that's the only thing. And then now you're seeing it again. They disappeared a little bit last time, but now they're coming back, and now you're seeing all these new faces. The only one remaining is Scola, but now you're seeing all the young guys who were together since juniors. And now they're playing. So there's really no secret to that, because I'm a firm believer that we really have to expand our basketball exposure.
Yeah, tama naman.
So I made sure that I had a lot of Latin, South American exposure, Africa, Europe, because I knew. And when we scouted in 2014, we don't only scout the players, we scouted the coaches. I personally scouted, and I wanted to know what was the tendency and what were how certain coaches reacted to certain
and how they make yung mga in-game adjustments.
Yes,
Very important
so
din kasi.
We even scouted the referees. Even in our scouting report, we have pictures of the referees. We know this referee, he always calls traveling. This referee, if there's a 50-50 call, charge or block, he will always call charging. So that's how detailed our preparation was. So what Tab said is correct. We really have to go out and immerse ourselves in international basketball, and hopefully the basketball leadership today allows the future national teams that opportunity. Why do you think we encourage the Kai Soto to go out?
Yeah,
It's because I could see it. If he had stayed here, I don't think he would
develop as much as he could.
What is the secret of those teams like Australia? All of their great players, they send them to the US to play in Division 1. Because if they stay in Australia, they're not going to develop as quickly as if they go out and compete in different environments. So now we have Kai Soto in the US, we have AJ Edu playing in Division 1, we have who's our guard, who's in Italy. So those are the important things that are
happening
now. And now when it's time to get them all together, we bring them back, give them time to train together.
As they had the experience na abroad. Parang nasasayangan na lang din ako na imagine that we had all those 4 years ago, and then today we still ended up coming up this short. How do you think the Philippine basketball culture can improve toward that direction that you were just discussing?
They just have to get their act together. It has to be that somebody says, in this month, from July to September every year. July to September every year. No competitions. No UAP, no MPBL, no PBA, no NCAA, nothing. In July to September every year, that's national team window. We should have a window where we say, if you're going to do something with basketball, it is clear that the priority is the national team. If you're going to have a conflict between your own practice or game and a national team practice, sorry, your players are going to be in the national. Other than that, then we just say, okay, wag na tayo sumali sa international. Diba? Kung tatambakan lang naman tayong ganyan, diba? So we say, if we want to join international competitions, let's go all in.
Yeah.
And I'm saying not only, even the colleges, even the schools, I know even our women's team had a problem. Some of their players were not allowed by their schools. I mean, it's not only the PBA. The PBA has problems with their schedule and all that, but it's all other basketball bodies in the country. And so it's a systemic problem. It cannot be, like what Tab Baldwin said, it cannot be solved just by a change of coach or a change of player. It's really a systemic issue. We really have to have the basketball leadership come down and say, this is the schedule, you all follow.
Yeah. Hopefully nga, it's gonna start with you. This is the first time I heard, or even parang that idea of having that time window.
In 2014, we were fortunate that we had 1 month preparation. Our first game was August 30. We flew to Miami on July 30. But that was the first time everyone met Andre Blatch.
Oh,
okay. They didn't even know him. That was actually, hi, I'm Andre Blatch. Hi, I'm Junmar Fajardo. That was the first time. But at least we had 1 month. And then we did 2-a-days. We did 3-a-days for 2 weeks in Miami.
Sorry, this 2 times practice a day.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So we were just actually lived in the gym. And people were taking 1,000 shots, 2,000 shots a day. I mean, they couldn't go to bed until they've put up their 1,000. They have a board and they're listing it. Yeah,
okay.
And they have a number. Today you have to hit 100 3-point shots from the right wing. I don't care when you do it, as long as before you sleep. So we have our trainer, our utility guys. So they had the gym to themselves because it was right in the hotel where we stayed. Sometimes you'd see Jimmy and Gary David and Paul Lee and Jason Castro.
Yeah.
They'd be shooting at 2 in the morning, 10 at night, or 6 in the morning, but they had to get their shots in.
It's the discipline then to get the job done. I really hope personally then that yung FIBA World Cup would be sort of like a wake up, quote unquote wake up call na it's not anymore looking at who's the coach or who's the players. It's really the whole system and how it's supposed to be run.
I think the first step is the basketball leaders must acknowledge what's wrong and acknowledge this is not working, what's wrong, because unless you identify and be aware of what's not working, then you can never solve it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have very capable basketball leaders and hopefully the kind of embarrassment finishing 32 out of 32 and not only finishing dead last but losing by 140 something points
total
in 5 games. Wow, that's hard. That's hard to swallow. So
imagine if we finished medyo in the middle. Baka
I know, kaya nga sometimes you have to be very very bad to become good first. So if you're always mediocre, maybe you're never getting that urgency. Hopefully this is the kick in the butt that we all need. And a lot of people are saying let's not even participate, just put in the money elsewhere, so on and so forth. I mean,
sayang naman yun.
And the Filipinos love basketball.
Yeah,
this is our passion. So can you imagine if we're not participating there? I mean, before, that's what when people are talking to me about what happened to this Gilas team, I tell people, dati nga hindi tayo nakakasali. Ngayon nakakasali na tayo At least one step at a time lang tayo. At least now we have something to get mad about na natatalo tayo ng malaki. Dati wala because we're not even there. We're not even there. So I mean, in fairness to Andre, a lot of people are bashing the way he played. And maybe he's not in the kind of shape he was in 2014, but people should not forget. If not for Andre, we won't even be here. So, Andre put this team on his shoulders and was instrumental in in Gilas winning its last 2 games in the Asian qualifiers to get here. So we shouldn't forget that.
What will be next na for you? Are you planning to come up with any? Kasi syempre there are still some people who are throwing your name in the possible yung babagay ka ba ulit sa national team coach. What do you have? What are your future plans for?
Right now, I'm really immensely enjoying my retirement. I'm getting to do a lot of the projects that were put on hold because the last 5 years were very difficult. It was pretty toxic, coaching the national team and then running a full-time TV network at the same time, and then still doing all of my other things, my speaking engagements and all that. That took a lot of toll on me personally. So I'm enjoying this time now. I'm doing my executive coaching, consultancy and speaking engagements more full time now. I'm devoting more time towards our Tony and Guy franchise because we're expanding. Hopefully we'll open 3 new outlets soon. We're opening a new business. We're getting into the medical field. We're opening a dialysis center. And then there's several more in the works that I can't talk about yet at this time.
How about the future podcast, Tita May? May na-mention ka kanina. May any plans ka about?
Yeah, if I can get myself to sit down and actually do it. But yeah, several groups have come to me and said that it's time to have my own podcast. There's been 2-3 groups for the past 4 or 5 years been on my back saying, let's write your book. And I've always said, well, writing a book is for retired people, and now they say, oh, now you're retired, now you're writing a book.
It's time to start.
But I think I'll eventually get to that. But this is my first month retired was August. So I'm just in not even my second month. I'm just into my second month of retirement. So I'm kind of enjoying myself, decompressing, de-stressing, and
sana matuloy nga yung podcast and your other plans for hopefully you won't leave the scene, although not as a coach na not to leave the scene of basketball.
I've always said I don't know if they would want me to come back as a head coach, but I've always made myself available to help in whatever capacity.
Okay, we're looking forward to that.
They need an assistant or a consultant or whatever, or just an advisor. Doesn't have to be but I've always said that if it's for the country, it's very hard to turn your back. I mean that's for the country.
On behalf of Filipinos, the ones watching, thank you very much for all your contribution, what you've done, not just for basketball, but of course the pride of the country as well. All right, sige. Thank you for your time, Tito.
Thank you.
All right. So there you have it, my kwentuhan. It wasn't really an interview; it's really more of like a kwentuhan and learning the story. Yeah. And he's a very makwento person. So I really wanna thank you again, Tito Chot, for your time and for sharing your stories on your love for basketball, and of course how you believe our country can improve and be able to put ourselves in a better fighting position when it comes to going against the best in the world.
Yeah, ano ba yung best lesson mo from that interview with Chot?
It would be really the focus of if we want to be able to compete internationally and be taken seriously, we need to do it as a country na hindi yung sarili-sarili, na there's all these PBA and PBL, different competitions. And it's not just for basketball lovers.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. The country, despite our height, we're so fond of basketball.
Yeah, we live and breathe basketball.
Oo, sa kalye, di ba? Yung mga ganyan. So, maganda sana nga yung sinabi niya, yung may unity, support, and it really brings us together pag nananalo tayo.
Yeah. If there's Miss Universe, it brings us together. There was Manny Pacquiao's glory days.
Yes.
when he would bring the whole country together. The same way with basketball. And the people na kasi who say na parang why we're focusing too much on basketball, but I think the heart of the country is already in that sport. So might as well do the best job we can possibly do. Kaya naman, I believe.
Yeah. Nandun na yung interest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so thank you again for listening to that episode of Mom and Son Podcast.
This has been Rose Fresh Fausto, the mom, also known as FQ Mom.
And Anton Fausto's son. See you guys again next week. Bye.
Bye.
Mom and Son Podcast airs every Tuesday at 7 a.m. or anytime at your convenience and can be streamed on Spotify, Buzzsprout, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Just search Mom and Son Podcast for your weekly dose of family, finance, passions, and everything in between. For all questions and suggestions on topics or people to interview, email us at antonfausto@gmail.com.